Big shows, big audiences. The latest from podnews.net with co-host, powerful podcast hosting for agencies and brands. Want to reach a third of all podcast listeners? Just advertise in the top 10 podcasts, says Edison Podcast Metrics. The data highlights how big the most listened to podcasts are. We link to the latest top 50 and the top podcast genres in the US in our show notes and our newsletter at podnews.net. If you're not white or a man, you're earning less than you were 3 years ago. That's the finding of the UK Audio Network's State of the Audio Industry Survey 2023. As part of a second phase in the Equality in Audio Pact, a number of content creators have published an open letter to the podcast industry calling for action. The Google Podcasts website broke yesterday for a while. Did you notice? Us neither. Veritonic released an infographic about summer audio listening. Avrio, which offered a transcription service, is to close. Talent agency WME has signed the podcaster Ed Milet. The CPD Group has launched podcast accreditation, allowing listeners to earn trackable CPD minutes from each podcast episode to credit against their personal development goals. And popular podcast app Pocket Casts has launched a self-serve ad booking system, codenamed Blaze. Prices for the weekly ads are from $1,700 to $5,000. You'll be paying anywhere from an equivalent of $1 to $10 per tap. And in podcast news, the Let's Talk Marvel Fan Theories podcast is celebrating 2 years of podcasting by rebranding. It's now called Sisters Assembled, and it features two sisters discussing the latest and greatest in Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, the Disney Plus shows and MCU news, and they share their favorite fan theories along with some of their own. Trust Me, I'm a Decorator is new this week from the Sound Off Podcast Network, a new podcast from renowned designers Debbie Travis and Tommy Smythe. You might know Debbie and Tommy as decorators, but they'll be covering all of their favourite things, including travel, relationships and food, with many special guests along the way. Democracy Vibe Check is new today from WABE, Atlanta's home for NPR and PBS. The 7-episode series explores ways young people across the country are engaging in a new American tradition, civic season. Queen Havoc and Her Murder Cult is new from iHeart Podcasts and School of Humans today. The 10-part narrative series follows the mayhem caused by the woman known as the Charles Manson of South Africa, the cult leader Cecilia Steyn, and some of America's biggest stars of the 1940s and 50s died far too young. Death on the Lot dives into the cultural transformation of post-war America and Hollywood's fabrication of a new American dream, as well as Hollywood unions and labor strikes. This podcast is sponsored by Co-Host and Quill. Interested in which companies are listening to your podcast? Explore Co-Host's B2B analytics tool for companies and industries, created by Quill at cohostpodcasting.com. And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe, we're at podnews.net.